Hi, I'm an Australian living here in Belarus, and I'm going to give you 3 things that foreigners struggle with when they come to Belarus for any long period of time. So the first one is dealing with a bit of the bureaucracy. Now this only happens at the start essentially, but chances are you have to run around to various departments, register yourself, register where you're living with the government. There's quite a lot of paperwork and kind of playing around there at the start. Now of course this stops after the first couple of weeks, but nonetheless, foreigners that come here universally complain about these practices. Second thing that frustrates foreigners here is the language. And look, let's be honest, you come to a country where English isn't the language, bad luck, princess, right? But nonetheless, it's still a bit frustrating for people. They come somewhere and it's difficult to communicate, and foreigners that come here have different degrees of willingness to integrate, and some just are not interested in the language at all. Some others, like me, tend to learn it reasonably well. Now, if you don't learn it, you're really cutting yourself off. I've still got friends that have been here as long as I have that can't do the basics, like just order in a restaurant or call up a hotel and make a booking or something like this. So this is very frustrating and really cuts you out of what's going on. And yeah, it is partially self-inflicted, right? But nonetheless, it is a source of frustration for many foreigners here. Third thing that foreign guys often complain about here, and this is the big one, this is the big divisive one, because what happens is a lot of guys come here and then they leave after maybe 1 month or 2 months, and they leave and they're very frustrated and annoyed. And what this factor is the dating model here. How does dating work in Belarus? Truth be known, there really isn't a dating model here. It's more of a you know each other for a long time, then you get together, which, look, if you take out dating, and dating is, again, a post-World War II big city activity, right? If you go back to our traditional roots, you would just know people in your community and you would just get together with somebody who was suitable, right? But now we have these weird big capital cities built around the economy rather than built around communities, and people have to date. Now, of course, dating is a terrible thing, right? It's such a terrible model of meeting people. You're literally meeting someone you know or barely know, don't know or barely know, and then you get together in a fake environment, all dressed up, and pretend to be the best version of yourself, right? Putting your best foot forward. And of course, this means just kind of misrepresenting yourself, making yourself look better than you really are, and that's the Western model. But we're used to it, yep. So when you come here, there's not really a model to follow. It's more, when you're dating, it's not really with a view to short-term romance and passion. It's more getting to know each other. Now, there are exceptions, especially here in Minsk, but overall, this is still kind of like a country town in that respect, and that you really need to get to know people. And when you see couples and you ask them, how did you meet? How did you get to know each other? How do you know each other? And it's always a pretty similar result. They've known each other since childhood. They maybe knew each other for 5 years before they got together. And that's kind of how it works here. And for Western guys who, frankly, are often sex tourists, for them it's very frustrating. And I did notice that when I first arrived in September last year, that a lot of guys in that last quarter of the year that were arriving were also departing very, very quickly as well. They set up for maybe 6 months or something, and they left after a month or two. So guys here are kind of frustrated at the dating model, or the getting together model, how it works here. Because how it works here, again, is kind of more how it works in a country town, where you just kind of know people and then you get together with them, with a suitable person, and you might know them for years, 5 years. I've heard of this stuff happening, that people have known each other and then they just suddenly get together. I hope you enjoyed these insights into foreigners' life here in Belarus. If you have any ideas yourself, if you're a foreigner who is living here or has lived here, I'd love to hear your thoughts about the 3 points that I make. I'd also love to hear your thoughts on anything else that I might have missed regarding grievances that foreigners might have who are trying to live here in Belarus. Here is a bit of B-roll footage for you. I actually don't know the street I'm on, but just up here is Prospect Nezavisimosti, and up there is the bottom of Mark Street. So I'm kind of headed south here to where the train station is and where the main central bus station is as well, Centralny. So let's go for a bit of a stroll. This is quite a popular the university just here. Go for a bit of a walk down the street here, see what we find. It's quite a busy hub down here. It's quite busy. There's a lot of buses, a lot of trains. It's really that kind of transport hub, and people who migrate to Minsk, especially young people coming to university here, they keep strong ties with their towns usually, frequently going back on the weekends to visit their parents and this kind of stuff. It's very common. I remember my teacher, who was our first year teacher, bless her, she's only 22, she's teaching all of us old Western guys. She did a very good job. She was, but yeah, she would go back to Brest every second weekend, catch the train back down there on a Friday evening and come back on a Sunday evening. And it's certainly a very busy place on the weekend, people commuting back. And that's one good thing about Belarus, is that it's kind of small, and Minsk is really in the middle. It's like the bullseye on a dartboard, you know. So for this reason, it's easy to commute anywhere. It's not like living in Australia or America or something where things can get a bit complicated because things are so big. You might need multiple sources of transport to get anywhere. Whereas here, you just jump on a bus or a train, and even if you don't live near a stop, you just tell the driver, just stop up here on the left in 1 kilometre time if your little your house is there, or your parents' house is there, or whatever you're going to, your dacha, and the driver will just stop for you. I've got a Yandex. So there's always a bit of activity down here, quite a lot of people. Again, we've got the bus station. So kind of ahead of us here is the train station. When I say train station, I mean regional train station. And we're kind of walking more or less above Ploshchalanina Metro, which is 115. And in my mind, this is kind of the barrier of the central area of Minsk. It probably isn't technically, but in my mind it kind of is. So over there is all the train network, and look to the left there. Oh, this is our train hall here actually, sorry. I remember having flashbacks now of getting the train to Gomel here, and then further up to the left, if you see Galileo. In fact, I'll just walk across here and show you. So this is the main train station here. You go in there to get your trains to the original areas. A mixture of, you can see there one of the old sleeper trains. I caught one of those. I think it was actually Russia bound, but I got off at Gomel, and then on the way back we got this kind of more modern trains. It's getting nice and warm today. It is a late September day, and it's kind of, you can see what people are wearing, of course. If you're paying attention, you can see that people are wearing mainly jackets, as I am, but nothing too thick or heavy, right? So you know it's kind of 10 degrees or something to this effect. It's a nice sunny day for a late September day. Autumn. So yeah, this is the main train hall here. See there, Vauxhall. And this is one of the cheapest meals. I won't ignore this. These KFCs and stuff sprinkled everywhere. 4 rubles. That's bloody cheap, I'll tell you what. There's nothing else you can buy for 4 rubles to fill your stomach. 4 rubles is around $1.6 or $1.7. Anything else you want to get, it's going to cost you a lot more, quite frankly. It's tough to get anything simple for less than maybe 10 rubles. But there's a little KFC, is the real budget option out of the American fast food outlets, McDonald's, Burger King and KFC, that are sprinkled somewhat liberally throughout Minsk, especially KFC and McDonald's, less so Burger King. But KFC, very popular with young people. A, because it's American, B, because it's cheap. It is cheap. Well, let's just walk over there. That's the central bus station. So this is, as I said, the train station here. And here is where all the buses go, which is Central. So we'll go under there. Pretty sure we can't actually get over that way. So if you can't get over it, you must go under it. So let's go under here. So I'll turn right here so I can get underneath that main road, which I don't know because I don't really come down here that much, this part of the city. But it's a major east-west thoroughfare, so it's easy to work out if you want to look it up. I'll also just zoom back out again a little bit. Flower shops. This is a one of the major industries in Belarus. So, you know, romance and beauty are very big. Here's another one. Oh, and another one. Oh, the whole thing is flower shops. Oh, literally. Cool. Flower shops, flower shops, flower shops. So we're looking at there. For 1 rose, not even 2 rubles. The big pink one there, just 1 ruble. Sorry, dollar. I'm translating from rubles to dollars. Big pink ones there, only 1 USA dollar. So there's about 10 of these lined up in a row, and you know, romance and beauty are big business here in Belarus. They're seen as very important things in the culture. My apologies, there's some kind of drilling going on there, a little bit loud. Let's go up here and we should see the bus station, which you'll need to use to go to most towns throughout Belarus. It's a bit tricky because you've got the main central part, and then you got some other areas where you can also catch buses from, like across the road. It feels a bit less formal. They got these Mercedes Sprinters. I don't know if they're 15 seats, 13, 15 seats. Still got them over there. That's where I caught the bus to Mogilov, over there. So if you catch a bus to Mogilov, that might be where you're getting it from, not up here, which is Centralny. It's nice, bright, mirrored building. Again, you see those golden arches. I think the effect on retail here of the West is actually quite minimal, at least in terms of branding. Of course, the styling all comes straight from the West, that's obvious. But in terms of brands, in terms of actual retail outlets, it's the fast foods that really got in here. In terms of retail outlets, you'll find Apple and Samsung, whatever, but they might not have a shop here. Although there's a Samsung shop at Galleria Namiga. You get a lot of Russian chains here, for example, see CD there. Quite a few Russian banks, Alpha Bank, for example. And some local Belarusian things as well. This is where all the central bus station is. We'll just follow the herd in there. You can see there's a McDonald's there, and a large area with lots of platforms. There must be 20 or 30 spaces for buses to pull in. And you can get, they're not just intra-country, they're inter-country too. I caught the bus to Vilnius, Lithuania. I caught the bus from in here as well. So let's just follow the crowd in. Your last minute food thing. You got here too early, you're kind of hungry. McDonald's, and as you can see, very well patronised. People getting a sneaky burger before the trip back down to their parents' house. Let's go out there and show you. Most of the buses are small buses, 15 seaters. Yes, some of the big ones though that are going, I presume, just intercountry. Get a good idea what's going on here. And I'll tell you what, Belarus, man, they are on time here. Like, your bus is on time. Like, you'll see here, I'll just show you the little what do you call it, timetable here for each base. This is bay 14. And they've got the destinations and the time that they're going to leave. So 3 separate buses every 10 or 20 minutes, and they are on time. They arrive on time, they depart on time to the minute. Always. I remember the train I caught back from Gomel, it left on the 2nd and it arrived on the 2nd. Like, really. These guys are like Germans. Which is wonderful. I love this. I was just booking a bus then. I won't tell you what country it's in, but an internal bus in a pretty chaotic country, and it says 7 hours, right? But I'm like, I know that doesn't necessarily mean 7 hours, yeah? But here, you know, if it says 3 hours, it means 3 hours. That's what it is, right? So we'll see that. Whereas some places, my friend was telling me he caught a bus from Kosovo to Hungary, I think he said. And it said 10 hours and it took like 24 hours or something like this. I probably got the numbers wrong, but it was like not an acceptable amount of extra time, you know. Like, okay, half an hour either way, especially if you're crossing a lot of international borders. You know, sometimes, especially getting across Belarus to Lithuania, that can take a couple of hours by the time everyone gets off the bus and does the passport on one side, scan all the bags. Apparently there's a problem with smuggling out cigarettes from Belarus into Lithuania, so they're checking all the bags. And then on both sides, they're going to scan and do the passporting on both sides, the Belarusian and the Lithuanian side. So if you've got a bus full of like 45 people, that can take a couple of hours, of course. Just the reality of the logistics of it. So I'll walk down here a little bit more, give another 5 minutes. Oh, this lady was about to be a rebel, cross on the red. Something you don't want to do here is cross on the red. Although, I've had 2 mates, take that back, 3 mates that have been done for jaywalking here. This is out of like a lot of people over a number of years. So one of my mates got done just red-handed. He's like, okay, cool, I'll just pay the fine. The fine being like 12 rubles or something like this, like $5. I don't know exactly how much, but around that kind of amount. Caught red-handed, okay, cool, pay the fine. Now, of course, in a country like Belarus, there's no such thing as bribery, right? You can't pay the cop off. It's not Russia or Ukraine or something. You can't just pay the cop off or whatever. This is incredibly dangerous. If you and the cop got caught doing that kind of thing, you'd both be in jail for 3 years. Like, it's serious shit. They really have cramped down on all low-level corruption in the country. Just keep that in mind in case you think you can sip them a fiver and the problem goes away. Don't do that. The other 2 guys who I know who have had jaywalking fines, one was a German guy, and he walked, like, say he was crossing here, for example, he walked onto the street and it was green, and by the time he got up and stood up on the other sidewalk there, it had gone red. And there was a cop there, and he's like, what are you doing? It's red. Give us 20 rubles or whatever the fine is. Here's the fine. In a professional way. I've never heard of any problems with police here. They might be a little bit fucking, but generally they're pretty relaxed and just doing their job. So anyway, and my friend said no, because when I started to cross, it was green. And the cop's like, well, how do I know that? And my friend said, well, if it was red when I started to cross, the cars would have started going. And the cop's like, oh, that makes sense. All right, off you go then. So no fine there. And the other day, my Aussie mate, just in the last couple of weeks, he was saying that a guy stopped him in a uniform, but it wasn't a police uniform. And it wasn't a military one either, and he was trying to do something with him. And then my mate's Russian's not very good. And plus, he thought it might be good just to do the Nippon or mail. I don't understand. He's kind of playing that card. And then suddenly the guy goes, oh, Kudlovy, right? Where are you from? And he's like, oh, Australia. He's like, oh, Australia, oh, dobre, okay, go. I didn't find him. So, kind of interesting, but as a general rule, probably don't do it. And even just culturally, it's seen as a bad thing, to cross at the red. So don't do it. I noticed this first time actually in Poland, because look, culturally, Belarus is probably more like Poland than it is Russia or Ukraine. I noticed this for the first time in Poland. when I was there many years ago, I just noticed no one crossing. And like in my city, Melbourne, like you just cross. If it's red, there's no cars, you cross, right? That's how it works. But I noticed in Poland, like no one was crossing. And I'm like, that's interesting. I guess I probably shouldn't cross either. A, because it's cultural, and B, because I'll probably get fined. So anyway, we're back in the flowers strip here, so I will say goodbye to you. If you enjoyed this video, do give me a like. If you're subscribed, I do thank you, and I hope you really enjoy my content, and I'm open to any ideas or suggestions that you have, or any feedback at all. Would be really appreciated. If you're not subscribed and you made it all this way, you probably should just commit. Press that big juicy red button now, and I will see you again very shortly.